Okay, let's do some team reviews. I did a lot of these, some of these live already. I've got a big queue of them over here. But doing them live, they don't come out very clean. I get a bit distracted with chat. So we'll go through them right now. First one, 10 Dynasty League. It's a 10-team start 11 for 9-inch Michael Penix for FIRESTREAMS. Really tightly packed league. Let's take a look at what you've got. What is it? Superflex, start 11. Lamar, Bo Nix, Penix is probably a 4. It's pretty good. We got a lot of flexibility to move up or down with Bo Nix. And then Michael Penix, I'm not totally sure what he's going to be, but we hope that he's at least, kind of a middle of the pack, solid QB2 guy. Anthony Richardson, I think this year we are going to get games where, he's scoring 25 fantasy points again. I just don't know how many we'll get and what will happen to the coaching staff there and to the GM there. So got a lot of flexibility. We've got upside. We've got basically locked in production with Lamar. We're feeling good. Running backs, Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard, David Montgomery, and then friends. It's like a 2 or a 3. It's okay. You have enough to contend with. I just don't feel great about the long-term success of Hubbard or Montgomery, and even Chase Brown. Wide receivers, Puka, Nico, AJ Brown, George Pickens, Trey Harris. Looks good. Well, if we're starting 11, it does start to get really thin here. Jacoby Myers is probably a starter for you. It's okay. It's like a really, really good 3. Puka's probably really, really good. AJ Brown will give you good production this year, and then it just kind of falls off to no flexibility with George Pickens, and we hope that he plays well. And then we're hoping for Trey Harris to have a big breakout. Tight ends, Tucker Kraft, Evan Ingram. It's fine. It's 2 or 3. I don't see where this first-round pick has gone. I don't totally feel it in here. So the future value is not immensely amazing. Just moving around some windows on my computer. So let's talk about what can we do. You're probably contending. You just have really good quarterback production, solid veteran running back production, good wide receivers, enough to win weeks, and then Tucker Kraft probably won't hurt you. We'll see what changes in that offense with Matthew Golden coming in to be the presumed wide receiver 1. So we hope that works out. With their starting lineup, we're looking like 1, 2, Tucker Kraft is 3, and then 4, 5, 6. You're probably starting Montgomery a lot. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I feel like it's just all right. If you could probably pivot and up tier with Pickens and Besh, I'd probably look to do that. And then if you want to compete a little bit more, down tier off of Bo Nix. You've got youth with Lamar Jackson. I would probably move down from Bo Nix and just get better production better or equal production from Baker and grab an up tier at receiver, where you're sitting at hoping for Pickens and hoping for Harris. If you've already pushed in a pick, let's move a little bit of this future, because in the next 2 to 3 years, I'm not expecting Bo Nix to be drastically better than Baker Mayfield, and you want to be winning championships in the next 2 to 3 years, not just set yourself up for a 10-year league that never wins a championship. So we don't have a first to replace. If David Montgomery doesn't keep performing at 28 and 29, he'll need to be replaced. Chuba could need to be replaced. Guys like that, he's got a contract for 1 or 2 more years. I don't feel super safe with him long term. But it could work out. Overall, pretty solid. I'm expecting this team to be contending this year, probably next year, and then you've got a first to start tweaking things as AJ Brown starts to age out. you're contending at least for the next 2 years. So I'm going to wrap this one up and move on to the next. We have McCaffrey at home, the Huang Dynasty, the Yellow Man. Oh, that's House of Huang. We have McCaffrey at home, isn't that? Maybe this was submitted and then the team name changed. That could be true. Or I just don't see it. Okay, we'll come back to that one. Stay Tanking Pony Boy. Listed at the top. I have gone through this one. This is for kmccabe, maybe. Maybe that's how you say that. So let's go. Scoring, 12 teams, start 9, a little bit more shallow than what I typically play with. A tiny tight end premium. Let's go through the roster. I have taken a look at this one before. We've gone quarterbacks, Drake May, Cam Ward, Trevor Lawrence, Penix. So a lot of this value that puts you up at the top of the board is kind of tied up in quarterbacks right now. It looks like you had plenty of rookie picks coming out of a rebuild or a tank, where you've grabbed Cam Ward, Amarian Hampton, Henderson, Tyler Warren, all first rounders. So we're looking to see some improvement from this team. The quarterbacks, it's probably a really good 3 because you have room to make moves. Running backs, Bijan Robinson, Amarian Hampton, Travion Henderson, and friends should be really good, like a 4. We're hoping that Hampton or Henderson works out for you as a second option. Some of these rankings are just kind of the hype of them being young, and we hope that they hit for you. Wide receivers is where you still need a lot of work. We're looking at Jameson Williams, George Pickens, and then Jaden Higgins and Jerry Jeudy are probably starting for you. Same thing with Kyle Williams. So like a 1 or a 2. I don't really like Jameson Williams. This wide receiver 22 ranking would have him ahead of someone like Jordan Addison, who is younger than Jameson Williams and has only ever been better than Jameson Williams. So sometimes the community gets a little bit ahead of itself thinking about what will happen compared to what has happened and what is likely to happen again. So I don't love that wide receiver 22 number there. This is probably someone we'll look to pivot from. Tight ends, Tyler Warren. Like, you drafted him with your rookie pick. I think you're close to contending. We just kind of hope that all of these rookies hit for you this year. I think you have the value to contend already, though. And sometimes when you're tanking and then thinking, I'm going to get a lot of youth and go forever, they don't all work out. And sometimes you hold on too long thinking, I just need these to keep making these picks. Like, you don't need to. You can trade these picks and we can reshape this value to a contending team probably sooner rather than later. So like options to do that, we don't need 4 quarterbacks. Personally, I'm generally a Drake May seller. This QB7 value from day-to-day changes, swaps between QB6 and QB7 with Patrick Mahomes, who's just better and has probably more upside. If Drake May isn't good enough to stay a starter, I don't care about his age. Patrick Mahomes is going to be the starter for a long time and is back-to-back in keep trade cut in quarterback volumes. They swap on any given day. So when someone's hype gets that high in a rebuild, I try to sell a good chunk of those guys and then just cash that in for locked in production, because your team would be better if you took Drake May and got Drake London or Nico Collins and just had a receiver and then replaced Drake May in your lineup with one of these 3 guys. Like, that's going to get you more weekly wins. The same thing is true with Tyler Warren and these 3 running backs, because you have enough value to contend. It's just all tightly packed into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys. And the only one I feel confident about is Bijan, that he's going to be really good. So we've got 5 guys that all have a ton of value and only one of them we're really sure about. I'd like to start making some pivots. So like one of these guys, if you could take Henderson and Higgins and convert that into a more sure thing at running back and a more sure thing at wide receiver. With some of these guys, like we can start going for older guys. Like we could try to target AJ Brown at wide receiver. And if we're moving Higgins and Henderson, we should be able to get someone like David Montgomery back at running backs. And that's just going to give you a lot more points contending each week. If you could move Kyle Williams for any sort of hype, based on any sort of hype in training camp, I probably would. You probably spent a 12 team, so either a very late second rookie pick or an early third. And if you can cash that in at mid-second value that's producing, I'd look to do that. Other moves, you could just down tier off of Tyler Warren to a solid veteran guy that produces. Like Kittle would help you win more. Hawkinson would help you win more weeks, stuff like that. You could also start to move at least one of these firsts into your lineup. Some of these guys are just going to be losing value. Oh, other thing that I talked about was just pivot from Jameson Williams, up tier from him, pivot from him. Anyone who will pay you more than a first or give you kind of more than a first as part of a package deal for him. Like if you could move Jameson Williams and a first and come back with Drake London, that would be great to just right now lock in this value level that he's at when we don't know that he's going to do it. So that's the stuff I would look at. I think you're ready to start coming out of this tanking. You have a ton of youth here that you can move some of these picks and create a mix of veterans. You can also pivot from a quarterback to get veteran receivers and running backs and start contending. Sounds good. On to the next one, Michelle Obama for ZBS stock. First thing we'll look at, scoring. 10 team, 1 quarterback, start 11. That's usually like a kicker or something from what I've seen with these leagues. So if my advice is wildly off by missing a kicker, defense, IDP, something like that, you can let me know and resubmit it. I just don't support that stuff right now. So 1 quarterback, 10 team. Joe Burrow's pretty good. I don't feel as confident of Joe Burrow as QB4 as I do with someone like Lamar as QB3. I mean, obviously, like Lamar's ranked higher. We like him more, but I feel really secure that Lamar's going to be great. I don't know that Joe Burrow is going to throw high 30s to 40 touchdowns every year. That stuff just isn't as sticky as rushing from Lamar. So we may look to make a move here. Michael Penix is a really good second option. This is probably a 4. The other guys ahead, other 3 guys ahead, and I probably would have Jalen Hurts ahead of Joe Burrow. These are keep trade cut rankings. That would probably get you to a 5. I just don't feel confident that the stuff Joe Burrow did is like a sticky stat that repeats each year. Running backs, Kyron Williams, Chase Brown, Travis Etienne. So we got 2, and then we hope for a 3rd, and we hope for a 4th. And then this is pretty solid. So probably 2, and then some actual pieces that could start in flex spots for you. So maybe like a strong 2. Wide receivers, Malik Neighbors, Lad McConkey, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, Jacoby Myers. Pretty good. 3 or a 4. Just Malik doing most of the work, Lad being pretty good. And then Devonta Smith kind of feels like he's gotten to that leaky bucket phase where he's wide receiver 20 now. He's 26.6 years old. I don't know that this ranking ever really climbs up anymore. Like we've hit the top, and from now he's just losing value, like a bucket with a little hole in it. So we feel good about the receivers. We can probably contend. And then Trey McBride. The tight end 2 is listed here on Keep Trade Cut. I don't have him that far apart from Brock Bowers. So you're really strong here. This team is probably contending this year, probably contending next year. The thing I would look at for moves, let's build out a lineup. If we have to do 1 quarterback, I'm just going to count to 10 and assume that there's something wrong in the site. Oh, and you haven't done your 2025 rookie draft yet. Okay, I remember this now when I looked at this one on a live stream. Move these seconds for more secure production. Like your team is at the top. I don't really want to be taking the risk of these seconds becoming future Jalen Polks. Like Jalen Polk was the 210, 208 last year in rookie drafts, and now is worth nothing. Like your team is ready to contend. We just don't want to miss on these, and the way to not miss is just trade it with other stuff and get full value for it in that way. So I'm seeing what you could do to get a guy with more upside by moving Devonta Smith and a second, things like that. Or if you needed to move more pieces to fully launder this stuff into real value. So that would mean like moving, Devonta Smith, Chase Brown, and a second and coming. So that way you're moving 3 pieces and coming away with 2 better players. That's a type of move I would be looking to do just to make sure you turn this into production for a contending team. You've got all of your future picks. I think you're ready to go for it. You could add, if you needed to, just take these 2 seconds and turn them into Mike Evans, turn them into Devontae Adams. That's something I would look to do. If you could turn 2 seconds into Derrick Henry, that would help you contend. Those are the first moves I would look to make with a team like this. So I will wrap that one up and we'll move on to Go Tigers at the top of the rankings here in a 10-team start 11. So we do show these Keep Trade Cut value rankings. This should be the sum of all the value on your team loosely. We don't care a lot. Like 118 is not going to be massively better than 112 or 106. It's probably better than 86, and we just kind of want to get a general ranking. But there's going to be spots where guys are overvalued, undervalued, or value is stuck in, like some teams have 4 quarterbacks and you're only starting 2, situations like that. So you're in a 10-team Superflex start 11. We'll go position by position. We'll look at your future value. We'll look at kind of what's the state of this team. Are you contending? Are you not? And we'll talk about what moves you can make. Alrighty, quarterback, Jaden Daniels, Brock Purdy, Jackson Dart. That's 3 pretty good options. Like Brock Purdy, I would not be surprised at all if he was QB8 this year. He's just a good performing quarterback. Jaden Daniels, going to be really good for a long time. I do personally worry about injury, but he's going to produce a lot. Jackson Dart should rise in value throughout this first year. He doesn't even have to perform that well to go up in value. He's a rushing quarterback. As long as he's not awful, we should see a rise in the same way that Drake May has risen. Probably not as much. Drake May was pick 3 in the NFL draft. Jackson Dart was pick 20. But as long as he's not awful, a rushing quarter, there's going to be people saying he's a rushing quarterback that'll give him a high floor. Malik Neighbors is there, so it will be hard for him to fail. If the coach and GM are removed, that doesn't really change anything about the way people will perceive Jackson Dart, because they'll hire someone new in and people will say the new coach is going to fix him. So I'm expecting a value rise barring awful play. So pretty good here. Running backs, Ken Walker, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, James Conner, solid, like a solid 3. You can contend with this. Derrick Henry should still give you good value. Joe Mixon, we're hoping that this isn't the year it falls off, but it totally could be. Running backs, there's a lot of running backs from the same time frame as Joe Mixon that stopped producing at 27 years old. So Joe Mixon is still producing. Same thing with James Conner. He's 30. He's James Conner, as an example, like younger than Le'Veon Bell in terms of real life, but Le'Veon Bell's best years ended at 27. Ezekiel Elliott ended at 27. Dalvin Cook's best years ended at 27. So when we have these guys that go past that, use it while you can, but it could also disappear any year. So we have a lot of worries about the future here, but you're going to have good production. We hope. We hope that you're between these three, the ones that you're starting each week, you get decent production from. Wide receivers: Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, 1 and 2. Terry McLaurin, George Pickens, Ricky Pearsall, and friends. Not much of note here. There's probably a 4, just based on these two alone, looking at the whole squad, assuming you're starting around 5 of them. And then tight ends: Trey McBride, Tucker Kraft. That's probably a 5. Like a really good 1-2 punch. You probably don't need this much in one column here because Tucker Kraft would just be on your bench. So 10 team start 11, what are we looking at? We're looking at like 1, 2, 3 in your lineup, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ricky Pearsall has 12. So we have some room to make some moves. Like, you don't have a first next year. You're at the top, ready to contend. We are worried about Terry, Henry, Mixon, and Connor all somewhat fading away after a year. So we may want to start to make some pivots, and we can probably do them in just up tiers. Like, we could probably move Terry and James Conner and come away with a safer receiver. You could probably, if you're moving James Conner with that, take Terry and get up into like that wide receiver 20 range is where I would start. But when I'm doing something like this, moves like this, I do use a trade calculator. I'll just take Terry McLaurin, James Conner, plug it in on one side, and then look at what it says to fill in on the other side if you're trying to do an up tier, and see how high you can get with those two. But that's kind of the starting point for moves you could make to kind of remove some of this risk, because you're contending this year and we want to keep you contending next year as well. I mean, so could you take Terry McLaurin and just see what you need to add to get to AJ Brown? You move back a couple years and get like the same production this year from a younger player. Like, you have to give more value, but that's something I would be looking to do. I wouldn't really want my season made or broken by Terry McLaurin, or really Joe Mixon or James Conner. Those are the first options I want to move. With this team, what did we say? We said like 4, 3, 4, 5. So it's really good. We're really, the main concerns, like we have Ricky Pearsall as youth who should improve. George Pickens is someone I might look to sell if he hits. I'm probably taking these seconds and trying to go get, I might take both seconds and see if you can get from Terry to AJ Brown. I don't want to add another veteran on here unless we're pivoting somewhere else. So unless we were moving Joe Mixon and Connor and getting a younger running back, with your team, I don't want to have 1, 2, 3, 4 starters all at risk of falling off in the next year and a half. So that's where these picks come in, as well as, if you could down tier one of these guys, Jamar Chase or Jefferson, to Amon-Ra St. Brown or Puka Nacua, move Terry McLaurin in there and come away with, going from Chase and Terry to Puka and another top 10 receiver. I'd be looking at top 10, top 12 receivers there. You're looking to make 2 big guys come in, send out 1 huge guy and 1 smaller guy, and come away with 2 big guys. That just protects your future a little bit. You're looking to come out as a value win. Don't let them stick thirds in on their side. You want to be sticking thirds in on your side to finish the deal. So you're getting 2 really, really good players that are probably better than the sum of these 2 guys because you're moving the best one. As far as other moves, I think you just count your money as you win. Like, your team is pretty good. Just be open to doing 1 down tier from like Daniels, Chase, Jefferson, McBride to protect your future a little bit. That's what I would do. Okay, D brand. We've got a series of these for you. This one looks like it's coming out of a rebuild, or out of a startup. That's about how tightly they are. Let's take a look at your team. I have done this one before on a live, but I know I was distracted. So we'll give you a good, solid redo. Quarterbacks. This is a 12-team start 10. This is like our league. We just started a boom bust league. This is basically our scoring. So your quarterbacks: Jackson Dart, Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson. So Dart and Wilson, Darnold and Milrow. It's a decent plan to come away with two guys. I'm still going to give it like a 1 or a 2 because we don't know what the production of any of these guys is going to be. But you have options, and it's a really value efficient way to get quarterbacks. It's hard to make any sort of moves with these guys. It's very hard to get anyone to pay you anything for Russ or Sam Darnold. But you can get points. Running backs: Barkley, Hampton, Jacobs, Henry. 4 really good options. This is probably a really, really good 4. If Saquon Barkley was like 2 years younger, this would be a 5. If that's kind of what is stopping this from being a 5, just how many guys here could all fall off this year. Henry, Jacobs, and Barkley all could. Wide receivers: Justin Jefferson. 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4, 5 guys that I would feel okay with starting. Bateman as a flex. I'm trying to count out about 5 receivers that we're starting. So it's probably just like a 3 with Jefferson doing most of the heavy lifting. I'm not a Jameson Williams fan. I'm going to stop giving the long spiel on that, but that's probably a pivot for us. And then like looking at tight ends, it's a full punt. I'm not a Williams believer. I'm not an Isaiah Likely big time believer. So we're hoping just to not take a loss in this column. So it's probably just going to be a 2. Like, you have some flexibility with Likely to move him. But I don't know what sort of consistent production you'll be getting across these 3 guys. Gesicki was good when Higgins was out. Higgins has missed a lot of time in his career, but I don't know what's going to go on. So what does your team look like? Are we contending? I don't know. Yeah. You'll probably make the playoffs. Or you're in contention too. So you need things to break your way. Like, all of these guys really need to be performing. Hampton needs to come on early. That's kind of what we're looking for. Because if we're building your roster, we're going 1, 2. The Giants quarterback, the Seahawks quarterback is 2. Isaiah Likely's 3. That's not good. Running backs, we're going to go 4, 5, 6, 7, all kind of hitting your flex. And then 8, 9, 10. That's a contending team. Jerry Jeudy's a flex. Pittman's a flex. We just need these guys to all continue to produce at an old age. These guys could all disappear after this year too, or heavily fall off. But I think you're contending this year, making the playoffs just off the strength of your running backs and receivers. This is a fear of a retool next year, needing to, with the 1st, 2nd, and 4th. Like, we hope that the quarterback situation works out. There's a real chance that it does, and you just have 2 solid QB2s. And then we need these 3 older guys to just keep performing. So ways you could make moves: pivot off of Jameson Williams. Let's just cash that into something more sure. Like, I don't know that he's going to outproduce Jordan Addison this year, and he's ranked ahead of Jordan Addison. That's a time to just cash it in. So could you move like Jameson Williams and Josh Jacobs, who still has a lot of his value, or Saquon or Derrick Henry, one of these guys, and you're looking for a stud receiver coming back in that situation? That's something I would consider. We just don't have a ton of flexibility or really room to feel safe to make moves. Like, I don't feel safe to pull from your first because of how many guys could tail off. Quarterbacks could fall apart. Isaiah Likely and tight end could be an issue. If things aren't working for this team early, I would just blow it up. Like, because we've only got a window of 2 years tops with this running back group. So let's try to get the 1, 2, 3, probably 4 firsts out of these guys and start it up again. Move on to the next one because you've submitted a bunch of them, and here we are with another one for you. My team sucks. It's listed middle of the pack with one monster team. Let's take a look at it. Scoring 12 teams, start 10, half PPR, tight end premium. Positionally, quarterbacks, it's like a 2 or a 3. Brock Purdy's really good. I think he's probably, I don't know, this 14 just seems way too high. Like people are too low on Brock Purdy. So yeah, probably what I mean, the number is high. The value that people assign to him is too low, is what I mean. Because Purdy's going to just produce. Cam Ward, really slept on, 101 overall pick. You have 2 guys that are starting and will get a lot of chances to start. Like, they're not going to bench Cam Ward for Will Levis. It definitely won't this year. Maybe they sign a backup guy like a Joe Flacco type. I mean, Joe Flacco will be 80 next year, but maybe they bring in a second guy to compete with Cam Ward next year if things go really badly. But you've got 2. I remember this team now. Running backs, nothing. It's just Genty and friends. Hello. Wide receivers. So this is like a 2. Genty will get you to a 2, and then nothing else behind that. No one you want to start. So we're definitely, it's just a hole in your lineup. Wide receivers, Brian Thomas, Ricky Pearsall, and then we're looking at more holes. Like Luther Burden could be something. Keon Coleman is probably starter tier. And then tight ends, Tyler Warren. So we've got guys coming out of the rebuild. We're 1 to 2. You know, we've got Cam Ward, Genty, Luther Burden, Tyler Warren, all rookies. I don't know that this team can hold all of these guys where they're at. I mean, Ashton Genty's not going to get a ton more valuable. We kind of just want to split that and get it growing again. Get it growing as a down tier and get a first from this year. So that first goes up, or a first in 26, so that goes up in value. Similarly with Tyler Warren. Like, is he the next Brock Bowers? Probably not. Is he the next Trey McBride? You hope so, but we're struggling to find 2 guys. Tight ends just don't hit as much as we want them to. So if you could cash him in as tight end 4 right now and get a better, if you got Kittle now, by the time you're contending, Kittle would still be playing for you, or just full pivot this into something else and fill your tight end spot in another year. That's something I would consider to do, because I just don't know that this value is actually going to stay here if he doesn't produce right away. And most rookie tight ends don't produce right away. Ricky Pearsall's a good pick for this spot, or for this team, for a value riser. Keon Coleman is probably a good value rising option. Same thing with Luther Burden. And then if anyone will give you anything for Jalen Coker, just move it along. If you can sell Jerome Ford after the news in Cleveland, I'd be looking to get a third for him if I can, and just start using that to keep this rebuild going. Other things, I think what I did the first time was when we try to fill 10 spots, like, we're going to feel far away. Like 1, 2, Tyler Warren is 3, Genty's 4, and then we're missing for sure a spot here, so we're going to be stuck. Thomas is 5, 6, and then we're hoping that we have 7, so we would need to get to 8, 9, 10, and you only have like 1 that feels sure. Seconds just don't actually hit that often. I think the hit rate on them is about 40%, and that doesn't include how bad a miss is. If a first round pick misses, the value still holds. Like Roma Dunze did not pop, you could still get a first for him. Second round picks are not at all on that scale. If they miss, it's just nothing. Like I don't see any guys like that. The closest one is Keon Coleman, who was probably a second round rookie pick and could not get a very good second round rookie pick right now. But someone like Jalen Polk last year was a second round rookie pick and is now worth nothing. He would be like the wide receiver 100. So when they miss, they completely miss and you don't get anything back. So I'm not looking to make second round picks. I'm looking to get a second round pick or a third round pick out of Jerome Ford and then use that in a trade. So it looks like you've got a lot of guys up, that are ascending in value. I don't really see any problem pieces that you're holding, just guys that could hold back the rebuild. Like Brian Thomas is really good, but if you could cash that out and get more value grow, I would consider it. Same thing with Ashton Genty and Tyler Warren. Probably if this was my team, I would look to move one of those three down tier from Genty to like Caleb Johnson and see how many firsts on top of that you could get so that you still have more value ascending pieces. Those are my thoughts on that one. Let's take a look at one for Devin. The Kim Jong-un League. Devin, I think your team name was just Devin and Devin? Devin and PH? One day or one day? Yes, if it's changed, that will cause an issue. Let's skip that one for right now. Let's go to Brad Mish. Where are you? Are you Brad M51? Yeah, looks like it. Looks like the names are just getting out of sync. Let's go through your team. This is a 12-team start 10. So we got to get to 10 starters. PPR, small tight end, premium. We're looking for a tight end to have that premium. Let's go position by position. Quarterbacks, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. Hopefully those weren't your first picks a couple years ago, because that has not hit very well. This is probably a 2. Like, we're hoping to piece together a starter with Flacco and Richardson, but this is not looking like a strong enough to contend. Maybe we'll have some value we can move around, but we'll talk about that. So this is like 1 or a 2. Running backs, Achane, Hampton, Swift, Pacheco. I'm feeling 4. Just going with my gut. This is probably what I would say if I looked at this blind again. That's a 4. You got 3 options that are going to be starting for you. And producing really well. And they're young. Wide receivers, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey. 3 guys from last year. And friends. Khalil Shakir is a starter in a 12 by 10. And Jalen Coker is maybe, but unlikely. And then nothing at tight end. So, I mean, maybe these guys break out in LA, and Jake Ferguson is probably good enough to not lose you a week, but this feels like a 1 to a 2. So probably not contending this year. We would need a big resurgence from Anthony Richardson that I'm not betting on. And you've already sold your first and third from 26. So I think we're still retooling and looking to add here. So what can we do? Because we're not adding a lot next year. If we're not adding stuff next year to get you contending, like when we try to get to 12 teams and we need to get to 10, and we're looking at Bryce Young, Richardson is 2, and we're not even sure he's starting. Like we're hoping to piece together a starter with Flacco and Richardson. That's bad. So we'll say 2, and we'll remember we need to drop 1. Tight ends, like you have Jake Ferguson. He will play. That's 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like we've got 10, but it's probably closer to 8, missing a quarterback and possibly missing a tight end. But you do have spots to pull some value from. Like Hampton, you probably took it to 102. We could down tier from that and try to get some value that we're going to move into quarterback. So the down tiering would mean going to someone like Ken Walker, who you could probably get a first on top of for Hampton, and then using that first to up tier at quarterback. If this were my team, I would try to move Hampton to get another first or more and get running backs, and then use that first in a bigger deal with either McConkey or Thomas, and pivot to pull a quarterback from that, or we're just fully retooling or waiting another year, but we're not really going to get anything in that year. So we got to down tier to keep some value risers. So maybe moving from Ladd to getting like Pearsall, Worthy, and a first. Or so Pearsall in a first, Worthy in a first, and then whatever else you can get on top of that, so that you have things rising in value to get you back to a team that's contending next year. Same idea, but bigger with Brian Thomas. I don't know that he's going to stay as wide receiver 5 with all of the changes happening in Jacksonville. So with a team like this, I might just try to we got to get more stuff that's ascending in value. Like Malik Neighbors is done at 3, Brian Thomas, this might be the peak that we ever see him. Same with Achane, Hampton. I don't totally know that these guys are going to become, you hope Hampton is as valuable as Bijan or Gibbs. But if he's not, like this 6 isn't going to hold. We're just going to start losing value and then not have enough first to replace it. So at least one of these guys, I'm probably trying to get some firsts and picks that are ascending in value to then convert into the rebuild. That's what I would do there. I'm going to step away to close a door, and then I'll come right back and do sophomore slump. Okay, team sophomore slump, 5th on the leaderboard, but it is a pretty tight leaderboard. Actually, let's pause on this one. Okay, sophomore slump for J. Kim 830. Middle of the board in a pretty tight value board. These numbers we take with a grain of salt. They are not sure things, and they are not always, these are community value numbers from Keep Trade Cut, so they're not always good. You are in a 12-team start 11 PPR, half point tight end premium. Let's get a look at what your team is, and we'll talk about how we feel about it. Quarterbacks, Stroud, Love, Purdy, Fields. So you got a lot of your value just right off the rip. Like I was saying with this value, you've got a ton of it in one column where you can only start 2 of them. So we'll come back to that. We're probably looking at like a 3 or a 4 here, just with how much flexibility you have. Probably a really, really strong 3 in terms of quarterback value and kind of a score of that. Running backs, Hampton and friends. This is like a 2. We hope to see Hampton break out this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's not the lead guy in September up into October, and people are saying, why did they draft him so high if they aren't going to use him? People said that about Jahmyr Gibbs when David Montgomery was getting as much work as he did in September. That could be different with Najee Harris like exploding his face, but I don't know that we're going to get for sure production here early on. It's probably like a 2. Tyrone Tracy could explode into nothing this year. No value, just based on they drafted someone with higher draft capital to play the same position. And if the Giants move on from their head coach and GM, like Tyrone Tracy doesn't, it's very unlikely that Tyrone Tracy stays having any value. I've got some dart throws here, but Brashard Smith could just as easily become the next Blake Corum, having no value. Running back 58, I guess he's already 62. Like that might not ever go up. Same thing with Trevor Etienne. Same thing with Devin Neal. These are all just dart throws. Wide receivers, Tet, Odunze, Flowers, Olave. Got youth, a lot of upside with coming from McMillan, Odunze. I feel like we've seen what Zay Flowers is. I don't know that we have a ton of upside here, but there is with Olave. And I'm not someone who worries about Chris Olave's concussions. They don't bother me that much. It does make him slightly more likely than anyone else to get a concussion playing football, but not everyone who plays football gets a concussion. And plenty of guys used to have concussion issues and then didn't get concussed anymore. Or, things can get better and we just kind of forget. Like Devontae Adams used to have concussion problems and now he doesn't. It's just perception. Everybody has concussion threat playing football. Tight ends is a 4 with Brock Bowers and nothing really behind him. And then you have future value. So it looks like you kind of know that the team wasn't working as it was and we need to tear down and get things going. In a 12 by 11, like 6 teams are probably making the playoffs. And if we reshape this value, you might be able to get in there. So first moves, I would be moving Stroud. I've heard people talk about Stroud. I guess the easiest way I'll say this is like when I've seen people say, I have Brock Purdy, should I up tier to Stroud? Because they look at community rankings and say, well, Brock Purdy's QB 14 and Stroud is QB 11. At this time last year, Stroud was a top 5 quarterback and a top 5 dynasty asset. He's never performed that way, though. Like, for example, in the 2 years where they've both been starters, Brock Purdy's only ever been better than CJ Stroud. So it's not an up tier. Like, this guy is just better. He just plays better. He just produces more in fantasy. So when you have a situation like that, where this guy is ranked ahead of this guy and doesn't outproduce him, we should sell high on this value. The time to sell CJ Stroud was last offseason, but if you still have him and he's not being thought of as like QB 13, 14, it's time to go. I don't know maybe the offensive coordinator change really unlocks him, but if I could just take this value, like you could trade him and not need to get a quarterback back because you've got Love, Purdy, and Fields who will all be starter tier in a super flex. You could just take this and move it straight into running back where you're definitely missing someone. And you'll stop losing weeks from Tyrone Tracy not being great, and you'll just have a great producer there. So I would be open to doing just a 1-to-1 pivot with Stroud for a really good running back option or a really good receiver option, and then that would free you up to move Flowers for a pivot to running back, things like that. Not similar. Next move would be a Brock Bowers down tier. The way that this is set up, I don't know that this team can afford the luxury of the number 1 tight end. In a half-point tight end premium, he's going to produce a lot. He's going to be really, really good. Like, think of him like Justin Jefferson. He's going to be amazing. But I think I would do a down tier here and get, if I could go to Kittle and get, like, I think I check this on trade calculators. Don't take my trade ideas as players, but like shoot for getting Brock Bowers. I mean, you could go to like Hawkinson and Amon-Ra coming back, punch that in and see what you need to do, how you need to massage that deal to make it happen, or moving to Kittle, who probably has more value than Hawkinson, and coming away with like Drake London, players in that tier where you're looking at like top 8 to 12 wide receivers to get. You're not losing the value of having Brock Bowers. You're just moving it somewhere else. And when you're moving someone that good, you can also throw in Tyrone Tracy and get that full second round value that Tyrone Tracy's probably worth, like a future second, in that deal. And someone will pay for Tyrone Tracy even if they don't want to, because they're getting the best guy. So that's a way you can start taking some of this like more dead value, like dirty value, hard to move Tyrone Tracy that could blow up, and turn it into a second round pick that's only going to go up in value, and then you can trade for production. So with this team, like, you have enough value to be a playoff team. You could move a first into your lineup. Like, you can start to spend this stuff now. You just can't spend a first if you're staying with Brock, staying with these 4 quarterbacks here, whichever one you can get the most value for compared to kind of perceived value. So the biggest overpay you can get from them, I assume that's going to be with Stroud. Move that into running backs, wide receivers. Big down tier from Brock Bowers, moving that into running backs and wide receivers. Pulling a first from here, pulling a first from here. Like, you have enough to contend. It's just kind of sitting here and then losing value here and sitting on your bench here. If you're worried about guys losing value as well, I'd wait until, you could probably get a first or a first in value from Justin Fields, meaning like Zay Flowers can probably get you a first. Justin Fields is worth a first. You could up tier with Fields to Fields and Flowers to get a better receiver. I just think for 1 year, you're going to get really good production out of Justin Fields. So we'll mark that one done. I think you're able to contend probably this year, and you have enough youth that you're starting to come out of any sort of rebuild you might have been in. Next one, the Gravel Hill Guardians. Where are you? Right here. RMAD 15. So when we look at the value column, you're in the top chunk. 12 teams start 9. Probably a playoff contender just at a glance, but we'll double check. This column is not perfect. I don't know that anything from like here, 79,000 up to here, the value could just be like poorly valued by the community, or stuck in picks, or stuck on the bench. So we'll get an idea of where your team is at if we think you're contending, and we'll talk about it. Where are you again? Here you are, the Gravel Hill Guardians. This is a 12-team Superflex, start 9. So we'll count out 9 guys when we get there. Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield, a really, really good 4. You don't have the flexibility of moving Baker for the production he gives you, but you do in Jaden Daniels. So it's really, really solid combo here. Plenty of moves you can make out of this combo. Running backs, Ashton Genty, Chase Brown, and friends. Trey Benson, Jalen Warren, Javonte Williams, Ray Davis could all get starts in your flex spots this year, but none of them are guys that we're confident about, and they're not really guys you can make great moves with. But, I mean, maybe you could. Maybe someone will pay you a decent price for Jalen Warren. Wide receivers, Travis Hunter, DK Metcalf, DJ Moore, Mike Evans, Josh Downs, Ayuk. A lot of uncertainty. I'm just going to call it a 3. Like, you've got a lot of guys. Maybe Travis Hunter's a stud. Maybe DK Metcalf with Aaron Rodgers is a stud. Maybe DJ Moore with Ben Johnson is a stud. Mike Evans will probably give you stud production for 1 more year. but maybe Travis Hunter isn't a great player both ways in the NFL, and things are a bit rocky year one and we lose a lot of value. Maybe DK Metcalf doesn't get on the same page with Aaron Rodgers, and maybe DJ Moore, like maybe the Bears don't take a step forward. So there's a lot of uncertainty. Also, Jaden Reed is here. I don't really care about Jaden Reed. Calvin Ridley, really good sleeper pick. So you have just a ton of meh options is how I'll describe this room. Tight ends, Tucker Kraft, Mark Andrews. You've got a starter for this year. I don't know that you're going to have any big week winners from these guys, but I don't anticipate big week losers. So what did we say? We're going to say like 4, I think I said 3, 3, 3. Like values rounded out pretty well. You've already moved a future first, and I don't totally see it here. So let's talk about moves. You're probably contending with this team. Like you're going to get enough production from your wide receivers to contend. You'll get enough production from the running backs and quarterbacks, and tight ends will be fine. This is probably contending again next year. Like we would lose Mike Evans, and you can replace that. One of these guys is probably going to be better at the end of this year than we think of them now. So like Xavier Legette, Calvin Ridley is probably going to produce pretty well. Jaden Reed should be okay. This 43 feels about right. He's like we hope he's a wide receiver too. Brandon Ayuk, we hope he recovers, and we hope to see the next step from Josh Downs. With this stuff, I'm trying to up tier where I can. Can I move Reed and Ayuk and come away with something better? Can I pair? That's the first one that jumps out to me. Like Reed and Ayuk. Can you get up to a better guy? Could you get up to like, how far off are these guys from getting you to Jalen Waddle or Jordan Addison? That's what I would look for. The other thing that I see on this team is like, I don't know with these wide receivers that I would want to afford Ashton Genty or Jaden Daniels. I would be looking to get down a bit on both of these guys. Like the value of these, they're all the way at the top, and I hope that the production is really good, but I think if we do a down tier and come away with 2 pieces for each of them, the overall production would go up. So if I'm trying to up tier at receivers, I would be fine with down tiering from Jaden Daniels and moving DJ Moore in that deal to come away with a slightly worse quarterback and a much better receiver. Something like that. Same type of move with Ashton Genty. And I would probably look to do it with Genty first. Can I move Genty and Metcalf and come away with a way better receiver and a really good... Like if you went from Genty to Achane, like you might lose no production in a PPR. You might gain production with Achane and then just gain production at receiver too. So I would look at that type of pairing or those types of trades. And if you're moving Ashton Genty, I would want you to throw in Javonte Williams and just come out. You know, when you're using the trade calculators are good. They're just not great, and there's clear flaws. So when you're using them and you're punching up value and saying, like, does this trade make sense? If I'm sending Genty, I want like full paid out value on Javonte Williams, and then I'm adding in one of these players and coming away with, I'm sending 3 guys and one of them stinks, and I'm coming away with 2 amazing guys, is what I would try to do. So those are some options for you. That would be like down tier from Daniels, down tier from Genty, 2 up tier. So I'd be looking to do 3 for 2 deals. Daniels, Warren, and a receiver, and get a quarterback and a receiver. Or Genty, DJ Moore, and Ray Davis, and get a running back and a receiver. On to the next one. Sultan Vinixer, Bo Nix, I expect we are in a league together. I did this one on a live. I don't recall if you were there on the live, so I'm just going to put it in this video and send you the email. 10-team Superflex Start 9 PPR. Quarterbacks Drake May and Bo Nix. I'm not really a believer in either one of these guys. Drake May may be more talented than Bo Nix. I don't know that Bo Nix is super talented as a quarterback as it is. Both of these guys as top 10 dynasty options, I'm not buying them at that price. So if I could sell them at that price and come away with equal or better production just by getting older guys, I probably am. Running backs, Hampton, Irving, Henderson, Najee. I definitely remember seeing this team. It's a really strong running back room. It's probably a 4, getting up to a 5. Really, really good. We've got Hampton and Najee to cover a week. We don't totally know what's going to happen with Henderson, but if we're going with whatever the news reports say out of Los Angeles for who's the main guy, like Harris or Hampton in week 1 and Bucky Irving, you've got for sure got your 2, and maybe Henderson as a flex. Receivers, decent production and upside options, but not an amazing group with McConkey, Waddle, Olave, Evans, Harris. This is like a week 3 to me. And tight ends, like it would be cool to have one. I'm not a Dalton Kincaid believer. I'm probably not a Darren Waller believer, and we don't really have a great option here. So moves we can make, let's try to get some up tiers at receiver. Trey Harris, Kyle Williams, Alec Pierce. We're probably not getting a good up tier with Alec Pierce, but Trey Harris and Kyle Williams, if I can get those two gone for just a better player that I know produces, I would be doing that. I like the story of Kyle Williams. He had a young breakout in college and could be good on the Patriots. I don't know how many 3rd round NFL picks end up being very good. And if I can just cash that in now, that's what I would want to do. Same thing with Trey Harris. I would want to do, just get both of those guys and give me a solid 5th option here so that I shore up a hole. If I could move Drake May and these 2 guys and get paid full price for all 3 and come away with 2 guys, a cheaper quarterback and 2 really good, or a cheaper quarterback and a really good receiver, I think that gets you closer to a championship than waiting to see if Kyle Williams and Trey Harris hit, because there's a chance they both don't. You could also throw Darnell Mooney into that mix, come up with a mix of May and then 2 of these 3. So Harris and Mooney, Williams and Mooney, and come back with 2 guys. I would do that. So that would be someone like, you have 2 young guys here. I would go to Dak. I would go to Baker. I would go to Kyler. I would go to Brock Purdy. Any of those options will give you more points overall in your lineup, or more sure points. Like, we're hoping that Kyle Williams is a starter week 1. I don't know. You probably don't need him to be a starter if we count out 9 people. 1, 2, Kincaid as a 3rd. I may try to get a better producing tight end, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're probably looking to up tier at receiver here. If when we count out 9 guys, we're cutting it off here, I'd want to up tier from Waddle or up tier from McConkey by moving Harris and Williams. Like, if you could get even higher up from McConkey, I would do that. I don't know how high you can get, but I'm shooting out those offers. Like, what does it take on top of McConkey from these guys to get to Puka? You've got 2 firsts next year and 2 seconds in 27. I think you have the value to be a top contending team. Like, we don't need this to accrue more value throughout the year. I would just down tier from one of these quarterbacks, get the same production, and then move a first and heavily up tier at receiver. I think I did this one live in front of you. I'm just going to wrap it up. Okay, next one, LIV, just the Jettas. I have taken a look at this one live. I think I was distracted, so I'll just redo a nice clean one for you. I've gone through this team. I'm a bit familiar with it. 12 teams, start 9. Let's go position by position. You've got 3 starting quarterbacks, McCarthy, Ward, Lawrence, all going to be big value risers, I think, this year. I would be really surprised if none of them were value risers. I could see J.J. McCarthy not going much higher than 13, but like Cam Ward and Trevor Lawrence are just a bit undervalued for the production that they'll give you. Or maybe a better way to say this is like QB 17 is the same as 18, is the same as 16, all the way up to 13. It's just a big blob of dudes. So they're not really different, and 18 feels worse than 13, but it's the same. With all that said, this is like a really weak 3 or a strong 2 in terms of a rating for your quarterback room. We probably have some flexibility to make moves from here, but we don't know that we're going to get great production. Running backs, nothing. Toot and Blue, maybe one of them has a role similar to what Tyrone Tracy did last year. Not in terms of like a playing on the field, but in terms of production. Maybe they have decent careers akin to Devin Singletary, who was fine for years, but nothing here feels good going into the year. Wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Devonta Smith, and buddies. I think I spoke to you a lot about this one. Yeah, I did. So I'll just rehash it here so you have a nice clean version of it. All of these guys, Jaden Higgins, Juwan Jennings, Jack Besh, Rashid Shaheed, Cedric Tillman, they're all just future Adonai Mitchells and Jalen Polks, potentially. I definitely remember talking through this with you, saying, we hope they hit, but if they don't, we hope Jaden Higgins hits. We hope Jack Besh hits. But if he doesn't, it's Jalen Polk, and then we're dead. So all of these, you want to turn these back into second-round picks and then use these second-round picks to buy production when you're ready to contend. Or use second-round picks to buy like Ken Walker. Although right now, you would not be buying anyone right now. It's just take all this stuff down. As soon as any of these guys pop, convert them into picks that for sure rise in value. Probably the same thing with one of these quarterbacks. And then when it comes time next year, we're just making trades, doing up tiers and cleaning up value with firsts and cycling through them. So that would mean like move Devonta Smith, anyone that hits. So if you did like Smith, Besh, and a first and see if you can get 2 really good players out of that, that's a move I would do, because then you're just sending away Jack Besh at full price and coming away with 2 really good pieces who aren't going to have as much downside as someone like Jack Besh. I'll wrap on this one. I'll take a break. Didn't want to close this one out. Here's team review for It's Leah. This one, I'm in this league and it's still happening. I think I just marked it as complete and said come back to it later. 9-inch Penix. 9-inch Penix. Let's go through it. 10-team Superflex start 11. I think I'm just not matching names up right with the name here and the name shown in TikTok or on YouTube asking about this team, or someone was asking for a review for this same team name and you guys just both have come up with the same name. That could be true. But let's go through it. Lamar, Bo Nix, Penix. For me, it's a 4. I'm not a big Bo Nix believer. These values come from Keep Trade Cut. This value seems about right. And then we hope that Anthony Richardson comes back and plays all right this year. But I think you've got good production. Like, I don't know that Bo Nix is talented, but he'll run. He's like what Jackson Dart, we hope, becomes. Like, we don't need him to be amazing if he runs and the offense is okay. And then Lamar Jackson's excellent. Running backs, Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard, David Montgomery. Like, you've got enough to continuously fill out 2 spots here. It's probably like a really strong 2, though. I'm not totally bought in on Chase Brown, but that's one where I say that and I don't even know if I'm totally open to being wrong about that. I'm usually slow to trust later round rookies who get moved into a role. Like Chase Brown, Austin Eckler was really good for a while, but he was an undrafted rookie, so I was slow to trust him. That's how I feel about Chase Brown. Similarly with Chuba Hubbard, came on later in his career. Like, Chuba Hubbard hasn't been around for that long in fantasy, but he's 26 years old already. And then I'm only expecting 1 to 2 more years of David Montgomery. He's already 28. Guys normally fall off at 27. Some guys have been going longer now. Saquon, Derrick Henry, but there's a lot of great guys that all their best years were before they turned 28. Wide receivers, Puka, Nico, AJ Brown, 3 really strong options. George Pickens with some upside, and then Jacoby Myers, a decent 1 more year flex, and then Trey Harris and Jack Bash. These are both, I've talked about these guys on other reviews. I would probably just try to package these and get a better producing option. Like, can I get up to Jalen Waddle, Jordan Addison, that range? Maybe not. But if I throw in a first, I don't want to see if they pop. That's just me. I'd rather just lock in and know what I'm getting. Tight ends, Tucker Kraft, it's like a 2. Evan Ingram, probably not going to be amazing. Maybe Tucker Kraft takes another big step forward, but that's not a prediction I'm making. So your team's probably contending. We're not looking at a lot of old guys. Like, the closest thing that we feel afraid of in age is Montgomery and AJ Brown. We're totally fine. We're probably contending this year, probably contending next year. You've already moved your first. I don't totally feel it here. And I'm going to start talking about, like, what kind of pivots can we make? What kind of moves can we do to get you just over the edge to the championship? And some of that is going to be either moving Penix, probably 2 moves here, like down tier from Nix to someone who's older and we feel more confident about the production. Like Baker Mayfield would be a down tier that gives you value to put somewhere else. If you have Penix and you just want to know that, and you want to get to a spot where you have 3 guys that are all pretty good, like Lamar would be great, and then went from Bo Nix to Goff, and then had Penix as a younger option to secure your future, that can just get you a big value win into other spots, producing each week, excuse me. So I would look to do that, and that'll help get you over the edge. I mean, maybe Bo Nix breaks out a ton and is way better than QB9, but I'd rather, if you, an example guy is like Baker Mayfield outproduced Bo Nix last year, and he's cheaper because he's old. But like, no one cares about age when you win the championship. They just give you the money. They don't ask if your players were old. So I would be open to doing that because you have someone like Michael Penix. Or I would just ship out Penix entirely and hope that Richardson lines up with your bye weeks when and if he's playing. Other moves to make: Harrison Besh, just tier him into someone that is going to give you weekly production. Can we get to 11, guys? If this number is weird, like with a defense or a kicker, disregard this part, but let's count it out. Like 1, 2, Tucker Kraft is 3, and then we're going 4, 5, 6 starting, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this is where we get with Harris as a weekly starter. I'd rather just move any 2 of these 3 or all 3 of these. Yeah, now that I see Marvin Mims, I would move Harris, Myers, and Besh and some picks and just, how high up can you get to get you produce with better production each week. I don't think you're going to get anything for Adam Thielen, but he might still play for you. Marvin Mims might play for you. Calvin Austin may fill in a week. I don't need to be making start sit decisions between these 5. I would just up tier and put it into production. That's probably going to produce for the next 1 to 2 years. So if you could get, if we're looking for 1-year options, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, you already have AJ Brown as a really good veteran option. So I don't think you can target that. But I would look to just do that up tier, do a down tier here to help move you up in wide receivers, to have better starting options to help you win more weeks. We'll close that one up and I'll check in. I'm in some startups, so I'm just going to take a look at where we're at. That one I didn't know about. That one I didn't know about. Did I cover this one again on the video? Yes, I did. So I've just got one more. Okay, let's knock this one out. Bijan Fett, who is this for? Oh, this is a 16 team. Okay, 1 QB start 8, and you're at the bottom. So I'm not going to give you a great insight about how to manage 16 team leagues, but let's talk about some value haves, some value have nots. Man, the way that this shapes out, we're at the bottom, but I don't feel, yeah, so I'll rephrase. I'll restart my thought for you. A lot of Star Wars names, that's fun. So this column here, keep trade cut value, it just takes the sum of all of the values of your players from keep trade cut from probably about a week ago now. But there's not really been any big news or changes to heavily shift things for Dynasty. Now, your team is listed at the bottom, but this is all community rankings. So if I don't agree with the rankings, I'll let you know. Where you have value that might not be accurate, or you have guys that are just older and are undervalued because of that, but should still produce. Like Derrick Henry is a great value of someone whose value is low, RB19, but he will probably be better than the production of RB19. Same thing with Aaron Jones. However, on the flip side, like Drake May's not QB7. He's QB7 in value because he's young, but if he doesn't hold a starting job, like if he's not good, we haven't seen him play enough. This could totally go away. If you don't keep up with keep trade cut rankings, on any given day, Drake May is QB6 or QB7, and he's flip-flopping with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is a Hall of Famer who still has MVP upside. We hope Drake May becomes as good as Josh Allen and has MVP upside, but I would always rather have Patrick Mahomes. So when we're looking at this value, like it's not always good. So for your team, how do we feel about starters in a 16-team start 8? Let's get a gauge of what that 8 is. So like Drake May as your QB1, he did not produce as a QB1 last year, so this is going to be pretty low. Like I give each position a ranking. This is like a 2 out of 5. Like I don't feel good about having Drake May here at all if I'm trying to contend. Running backs, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, like these guys could contend for you. But this is still probably a 2. They could also both be gone after this year. And we could also see Drake May not perform and be gone after this year. I see a lot of downside between these two. Wide receivers, Puka, Ladd, Rice, Evans, McMillan. If we only need to start 8 guys, so we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, this is a contending group in a 16-team league. Like, we're good here. This is 3 or 4. And then tight ends, like Zach Ertz is probably contending. So I think we just see your team differently, where Drake May is listed as QB7. I would hard pivot to get locked in production. And if you could move and get value for one of these guys to, I'll restart that thought. If I could trade Drake May and Aaron Jones and get like Baker Mayfield and a younger running back, I probably would for a production lateral move at running back. So like pull up the points per game on Aaron Jones, look at younger people that get very good points per game, like close to that, and then just down tier from Drake to Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, and get a better top 16 guy that's going to get you into like top 10 production each week and go from there. You've got a lot of pieces here that are ready for a contending team. I'm not waiting to see if Drake May breaks out. If I can sell him as though he already has broken out, here's a perfect example. Like, they weren't close in draft pick in the NFL draft. But if Drake May doesn't hold a starting job and they move on, like we just saw the Patriots move on from Mac Jones, who had a good rookie year. There was promise for Mac Jones. Mac Jones is probably not even QB 44 now. Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco as your backups. If things don't work out this year for Drake May and the Patriots, like this team falls even further down and out of it. So you have, with this column, to recap, you have we're hoping for good production out of Zach Ertz that would heavily outproduce the value. Same thing with Derrick Henry and Aaron Jones. So I'm not super scared. Drake May is the biggest thing that scares me because you have a ton of production here that should help you contend. I'm going to wrap on that one. That's about as much as I can give you on a 16 team. I don't know how many teams make the playoffs here. If you want to resubmit it in the future, I'll add in a column at some time to put more context and a text box. But I'll mark this one as good to go. And that'll be the last team review that I do right now. This video will go up on Monday.